Hi there, this is Alvin with KickstartCommerce.com, and I'm here at Merge 2018 with none other than Joe Styler, Aftermarket Manager of GoDaddy. So, Joe, thanks for taking time to take
Thanks
this
for having me.
interview.
Yeah, I appreciate being here. It's always good to see you, Alvin, and I'm glad to be able to talk to people about what we do.
Certainly, certainly. So, one of the things that I wanted to highlight that I kind of caught wind of was the GoDaddy, I guess, appraisal tool that was mentioned in one of the sessions earlier.
Yeah.
And so, can you explain just a bit about what that is,
Sure.
about what the tool is, how long it's been out, and just what GoDaddy is aiming to
Yeah.
achieve with it?
Yeah, we had it for, I guess, about a year and a half, 2 years. We released it publicly in a beta form last January during NamesCon. And what it is we take all the aggregate sales data that we can get. So all of our own sales that we do, which is millions of sales over the course of the whole aftermarket. And then we look at any other public sales that we can grab. So we take as much data as we possibly can. And we have a guy from MIT who works for us,
Okay.
and he built a machine learning, like AI platform, so that the prices will change in real time based on the data we see the sales coming in. So, more recent sales will be weighted a little bit higher than older sales, and they'll look at a bunch of different factors to try and figure out what a domain name is worth. Because as you know, it's not very easy to value a domain name because each one's unique. So they take all this aggregate data and they try and spit out what they think the price should be, and then they also will give you some reasons behind that we see, like here's some sales to kind of back that up, some comparable sales, and then some other data that we think, like, hey, this is a .com, so it's a good TLD,
Right.
and it's got a good keyword in it that we see a lot of people buy, and then it'll give you those other data points so that you can kind of get an idea of not only here's the number we think, but kind of how we arrived at that.
Gotcha. So then, how does it serve? I guess we typically look at it and say, okay, you're dealing with buyer, seller, but what audience exactly does this tool serve, or is it one, or is it multiple audiences?
It's multiple. I'd say it's your buyer, your seller, and your regular customer that has no idea that his name is worth money. So we put that right inside the domain control center. When they log in, they can see their domain, and we put that there prominently that, hey, your name is worth X. It's worth
Right.
$2,000 or $10,000, because we want to try and educate people overall to the market that's available for them. Most people don't know that you can buy and sell names as an asset, so we want to be able to show that to people in there because of we don't want them to lose their name if it's valuable. We want them to be able to understand the market, be more educated as a consumer. So putting that out there and helping people to see that for the first time and go, whoa, I didn't know that, and I'm going to take advantage of that. Maybe I won't let that expire. Maybe I'll sell that to somebody.
Right. Now, obviously being a domain investor myself, I look at a tool like that and I go, well, Joe, what am I to do with valuation where I look at it and let's say I evaluate this given domain as 15,000, but I put it into the tool and it spits out something like 1,000, 1,500. So, how do I make sense of that?
Oh, that's a great question. And it goes back to what I said, domains are unique. So maybe your name's not as, the same when you look at it as a human compared to these other names that
Right.
we spit out as comps. Maybe you have some reason behind that, you know the industry better than the machine's going to know, and you understand that, somebody that's coming in to buy a lead for, let's say it's a, high value product like insurance, for them it's going to be worth a lot more money to have this great name where they have to advertise less or pay more in a competitive space. So this is going to make more sense for them. A machine doesn't see that, but it does try to figure that out. And if we start to see more names selling in that vertical, it'll adjust, because it's AI. So that's a good point. But I think another thing that it really helps is that, as I said, a lot of the regular consumers, they don't understand that names are worth a certain amount of money. They see it as, it's more of a commodity. It's a $10 domain name. So if I can't get this, I should go get one.
Lowball offer.
Right. So this helps in those cases because it helps to educate people that it's not just you that says, hey, this name's worth $15,000. You can point them to GoDaddy and give them some data. Okay, GoDaddy says it's worth $1,500. I think it's worth more, but at least that starting point just got a lot higher.
Right.
And you see, it's a third party. It's not just you trying to sell your own name, saying, believe me, buy my name because it's, I think it's worth $15,000. It's, hey, there's a marketplace for these. You can see that other names sell in the thousands of dollars. I'm not just making this up and telling you that it's $15,000. There's a tool you could go look at and go see from a third party that shows you that, hey, this is at least $1,500 is what we think it's worth. I think it's worth more. Here's why I think it's worth more. And you have a better starting point than, hey, just take my word for it. It's not worth $50.
Right.
Right. You can build on that education and say, you're probably calling me about insurance, and you understand that these are high value leads, and with a name like this, what you could do, because I also know advertising in that area is very expensive and competitive, so that you can start to say, okay, these are valuable names. Think about what this would do for your business in terms of things, and now you have another data point that you can point to that's outside of you, and kind of makes people more comfortable, because now they can go back and they can go tell whoever it is, their partner at the company, or their spouse if it's a small business, or whatever that they have to explain to, that, hey, I'm not just talking to Alvin about buying his name and he thinks it's worth $15,000. There's some value in these names, and there's a marketplace out there for him, and what he said makes sense, and here's a third party that can kind of validate that this exists, and that really helps.
And so when you mention data points, then one of the things that comes to mind is, how is GoDaddy actually, retrieving or I guess originating its data? Obviously, you said that GoDaddy, but are you using different tools in terms of like Name Bio or DN Journal? Because we know that Ron Jackson reports weekly, on a weekly basis. So are some of those tools, I guess, ingested into this or considered in terms of pricing?
Yeah, we have our own sales that we sell our own names, and we have a marketplace, Aftermarket. So we're talking about millions of sales over the course of the years that we've had that we pull in. And we also look for any public information that we can grab. So we do look at like DN Journal and look at when he reports and scrape those sales and put those into the tool. So we have places that we try and grab that are publicly available for us, and we take that data and add it into ours, and then in aggregate we try and figure out what are comparable sales and what's happening with the market.
Gotcha. That makes total sense. And then in terms of that, now where do you see the tool, I guess, looking longer term? Where is it headed currently? Because I believe it was in beta, but then I guess have there been updates to it since it launched?
Yeah, certainly. One thing that I like a lot is we're only kind of spitting out a number and some reasons right now. Like here's some comps. We think this is a short name. It has a good keyword, so we'll give you some rationale on why we arrived at this number, and then give you the number. But there's also a lot more data points behind the scenes that we haven't exposed yet, and we tried to do that at NamesCon last year. We gave everybody who came, we gave them a code that they could use to evaluate in bulk, which right now it's just one name at a time. So we want to give people bulk access to the tool, which you can use for other things that I can go into. And it also gives you like a more data points, a qualitative score. So we look at it, and we have a big marketplace, and we look at what kind of names sell, and we can try and predict what we think the likelihood is that those names would sell within a year at different price points, at the expired name, at the wholesale price, and when it gets to $500, we just picked as a baseline price, how likely is this to sell within a year at that price, and how likely is it to sell in a year at the price that we say we think the name's worth. And then you can kind of figure out, when you look at names and try and evaluate them, not only what do we think the price is, but what do we think the quality of that name is? What's the odds that it's going to sell? The higher the quality name, the more likely it's going to sell. $500, it should be, if it's a great name like, cars.com, that's going to be like a 99.9% chance that that's going to sell at $500 within a year, and it's going to sell, whatever the price is that we think in a very high value. But if you look at like joescarsonline.com, that's going to be like probably less than 1% that it's going to sell at $500 within a year. And so we look at that quality too. So not only do you get a price of here's what we think, but if you want to come and try and maybe potentially look at names that you want to buy, or names that are in your portfolio that you want to check, change pricing on, or maybe if you see it's a high likelihood of sale, you might want to make it an offer counter offer, so that you figure you're going to get a lot more leads coming in, so you can talk to more people. So you can do that. The other thing that I like about the bulk tool that we released, that we might do more of in the future, is, besides just a beta, is you can go to our auction website. There's millions of names on there, and at any given time there's tens of thousands of expired names, and you try and sort through those. So we have a filter that you can use, like maybe you want to see any older names that are more than 5 years old, that are just .com, that don't have hyphens, whatever the filter is, and then you still have a pretty big list at the end of the day after you filter that. And you can throw that into the bulk tool when we gave out the code for bulk use, and now you can put in 40,000 names that are on the auction, and you can go through and say, okay, what does GoDaddy think the high value names are, and sort by that. You can go and see what does GoDaddy think are likely to sell within a year, and sort by that. and you can start to narrow down the list of 40,000 names, and you can look through, a couple hundred, 500 names on the top of whatever it is.
So then that serves to really help then, I guess, like a domain investor,
right, exactly,
who can say, okay, I have 1,200, 1,500 names, and I want to know the likelihood, or at least not that it's, I guess you'd say, the gospel truth, if you will, but it gives you, it's better than nothing,
right,
and it gives you a starting point to go, what I guess is the overall quality, the qualitative value of my given portfolio,
right,
as well as going, do I have a chance at even selling these?
Right, exactly. I think it's just more data. The more data we can give people, I think the better off they are. At the end of the day, you're still going to make your own personal decision.
Correct.
But the more data points you have, the better off you are. So maybe you're looking at names and you have 1,200 names in your portfolio, and you're trying to decide, maybe I want to drop the bottom 10% this year that's not going to sell. And you're looking through them, you can just have another data point of what do we think, the likelihood is that these names are going to sell over the next year or two.
Right.
And does that line up with the kind of names I was seeing, like I might not want to keep? And then I want to go get new names instead of these ones, so I don't pay the renewal fees on them, right?
Right.
And that's just another point that you can bring in on both the high end and the low end to try and figure out, are these names likely to sell? Do I want to keep them in my portfolio? Or are these names that, hey, I want to price differently because they're on the high end?
Right. And so is this access, is it available to, I guess, the public right now, or is it still that you have to have that NamesCon coin?
Yeah, we do make it available from time to time.
Okay.
We went to NamesCon in Europe, and we gave out more tokens there.
Wow.
And it is something that we will probably do again this year at NamesCon. And when you ask, what stuff do you have to plan in the future, that's one of the things that I think will open up more widely in the future, because we have the ability to do that. We're kind of playing around with the interface to make it cleaner and nicer for people. So that's something that we might release in the future to have more data for people to see and be able to do it in bulk. We think that would be helpful. Another thing that we think has been helpful is integrating it inside your domain control center. So where all your domains live in GoDaddy, you can see that right away. Here's the valuation that we think. So being able to show that to regular customers too, they have two domains and they go in there and go, oh, these are worth money.
Right.
That helps them to make a smart decision. Should I keep this name? Maybe I should sell it. I didn't know names were worth money. The more that we can use that valuation tool to tie into things, which helps too when somebody comes to the website to try and buy a name, we integrate it there and say, hey, we think this name is valuable, and here's why.
Right.
Those things all help the regular consumer as well as the investor, and we think the more we can surface the data that we have, then it helps people that when they're making buying decisions or renewal decisions on their own, for their small business, maybe they can wind up with a little bit better name, and that's what we want them to do.
Perfect. So then in terms of, because you mentioned, so I think if I remember correctly, there's like a simple list view and then there's like an advanced view. So does that estimated value, I guess, is that, where does that, I guess, is it visible? I think it's visible via the advanced view, but is it visible as well as in the simple list view? Or?
Not the initial view, but you can change on the top which view you want. So we go to the top right. And we've been surfacing that more when people search for names as well. And so we've been guiding people to a landing page. It's good when you call in, the customer support can guide people there, and show them, hey, you have this name and it's expiring. Maybe instead of letting it just expire, you might want to sell it. Here's a good reference point for you to look at.
Gotcha.
And that helps people. So we have ways to get them to see it, even if they have a small number of names. They might have that view by default. They can see it, and we're thinking about different smart ways to integrate that in, that it would be helpful for people rather than somebody who might not want to see it.
Right.
But we figured for investors, people have a lot of domain names. They want to see it, so we put that in there for them, so that they can see it by default. But somebody who has a couple names, it might not be as important for them to view it.
Right, and as you can see, we are live at Merge. You did
That's
see
right.
somebody walk right through the interview. I'm gonna call them out, and I hope somebody knows who it is, and you call them out in the comment section. But no, so I mean, changing gears a bit here. So then, what obviously you're here at Merge, but then what's good for you in terms of, what was your expectation coming here, and how's your Merge experience been this year?
Oh, I've really enjoyed Merge. I think that it's a pretty good conference because you get to spend a lot of time talking to people and really networking with people, where some of the bigger conferences, you are just rushed from person to person really quickly and you have some set meetings, where here it's a little bit more spontaneous because you have a more intimate, conference, and you can just kind of go and talk to people that you might not have been able to meet otherwise. So that's one thing that I really enjoy about it. There's, pluses and minuses to every venue, and I think that's a real plus for this one.
Right. Right. So then looking forward, in terms of the GoDaddy appraisal tool, so the one thing, I guess, the obvious thing is, hey, they want access to the bulk tool. They need to make their way to NamesCon, I guess, 2019.
Yep.
And so, or you reach out to Joe and contact Joe. And
if you reach out to me and we have any tokens floating around, I'll be happy to get you one.
Exactly. So that being said, well, Joe, thanks for your time, man.
Yeah,
I know
thanks.
that we've got other sessions to get to. But other than that, like I said, I appreciate the time, and I look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll see you there.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Yep, thank you. And that's it for now.